with the racism respect?
So we're sitting there with my brother-in-law, right, and we're watching the penalties go down, and Pickford saved that penalty from Italy, the one Jorginho, right? And if he scored it, obviously he would have won. And then there's that moment of, okay, this is at England's time, right? And my brother-in-law Kenny, he's almost predicting. He's like, if Saka misses this penalty, the amount of hate these three guys are going to get, right, is going to be unreal. And he kind of said it, and then I think in one of his WhatsApp groups, like a joking message came about it, and then, like the last week, the onslaught has just been. It's been crazy,
I could see all the monkey emojis being sent prior to it even happening. Like, honestly, I could. As soon as Rashford missed and Sancho missed, I could see. I was like, I can see it happening already. Like, if we lose this, they're gonna get it. And you see Saka, who steps up, he's 19 years old. I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna get it too if he misses. That's it, done, happened.
What I will say,
my first instinct wasn't upset. It was like, yo, they're gonna get it. Like, I was more upset for them, for those three who were about to be completely ripped a new one online. I wasn't actually upset about the result. That came a little bit afterwards. It was more like, I'm concerned for those guys now and what's gonna happen to them.
Which is it's a sad thing, isn't it? Because ultimately, it's a game, right? You kick this ball around for 90 minutes. It's nice to win. Okay, a lot of pride, right? And it's coming home has been there since game one. So the weight of expectation is huge, right? Like the build-up is huge. But I will say, Rashford's penalty, like the technique-wise, awesome penalty, man. Like it's inches, right?
This is an awesome penalty. He hit the post.
No. He hit the post, but as in terms of the technique, not looking, at the keeper, like compared to a traditional penalty, I don't watch that much football, but the thing I kept saying when I used to play Pro Evo, when I didn't know how to use direction in the penalty, all my penalties go down the middle. I was like, just go down the middle, man. Just go down the middle, man. Like, this is where you put penalties.
Problem is, with the keeper, as long as there's the Italy keeper, Donnarumma, he's 6'5". So if he goes one way, his leg can still trail. So he can still catch it.
No, absolutely. But if you put your laces through it and you kick it really straight,
if you blast it, then maybe. But then you have the potential of like fucking it up,
going over the bar as well. Yeah.
So,
but it was a sexy penalty, man. And if it'd gone in, everyone would have been like, "Yo."
Right, he's scored better ones for Man United plenty of times. So I thought he wasn't going to miss personally, because I'm like, "Yo, he's very solid from that kind of position." But it happens, man. Pressure situation. He wasn't warm. He played like 1 minute prior. So
what's your opinion on that? Like somebody who's come on, clearly, it's a tactical change.
It's stupid because you have a chance to win the game in extra time, and you didn't do it. Instead, you threw him on. You played him at right back when he's a right winger or left winger, which doesn't make any sense. You're not exactly getting him settled for the 1 or 2 minutes he was on the pitch. It didn't help him.
Right.
And then it was a pressure penalty as well, the third one, because I think it was all square at that point. No, they were 2-1 down, and then he took his penalty and missed. And I was like, oh shit, that's bad. And then it was even after that. So I'm like, oh, this is really bad. So yeah, just the pressure situation of it and all, I felt quite bad for him because he wasn't given a chance to sort of grow into the game. He hadn't played much all tournament. So all that kind of stuff is going to impact on you. And you're thinking, oh, if I miss this penalty, then I've not contributed anything. It's all my fault. But I haven't played much in the tournaments. How can you expect me to do a lot in that small period of time?
Tell me about the rules of penalty taking with respect to... Do you have to submit a list of players that are your nominated penalty takers? Can that be changed? Or
the referee doesn't care as long as somebody steps up and takes one and they haven't gone in the previous amount of players. So if you go from 1 to 11, obviously the player who took the first penalty can't take the 10th penalty, right? So they all 11 have to take it if it gets to 11. Now,
but your first 5 could be anyone.
The first 5, it just depends on whoever wants to go up. But if you watch the replays, the manager, Southgate, was assigning penalties to each player. He's like, you're 1, you're 2, you're 3, you're 4, you're 5, etc. So he chose the lineup. Okay.
So then again, from a person who doesn't really watch football, I've seen this. I mean, there's quite a few penalty shootouts in the Euros, and it seemed like a lot of the... You would think traditionally that strikers are going to be good penalty takers or midfielders, but a lot of defenders seem to be... they're good. I'm not saying that they're bad and they can clearly score, but what's the rationale behind Grealish and Sterling not taking penalties? Just explain that to me.
This is what people found weird. They didn't understand why Sterling hadn't taken one. So Sterling's last 5 penalties, he took 5, he missed 3. So his record from the spot isn't great. Grealish, I think the last time he took a penalty was like a year and a half ago, but he came out afterwards saying, I offered to take a penalty, I wanted to take one, the manager didn't want me to, he wanted someone else to take it.
Okay.
So I think Grealish was going to go like 8th or 9th or something like that. That's why. So
if we look at this from the film Moneyball,
yeah,
Brad Pitt, right? So from a numbers point of view, the 5 that were selected, did they have the best penalty record in the recent times? Is that the logic here?
No, because if you did, you would have brought on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's the Everton striker off the bench. He takes penalties for Everton.
Okay.
You would have. I think he had other options on the bench. Could have potentially taken it, but there was a centre back who took it, Harry Maguire, and he blasted it into the top right corner. So it just depends on the player and how they're feeling at the time as well. There is that side of it. I assume he chose those 5 players because they've been performing with penalties in training. They've done very well with it. That's why I think he chose those guys to do it. But everything that we were feeling at home was a fraction of what they were feeling on the day. And Rio Ferdinand was saying, you can see on the day, he's seen players who have struggled to, they've struggled to cope with the pressure, they've backed out of taking it. He said, when you walk up to it, you can't feel your legs. Like, everything's off. It doesn't feel right. And I'm like, I can imagine that. The amount of pressure in that situation, I can definitely envision that kind of feeling.
What's the length of a football pitch?
I don't actually know the measurements now.
Okay, whatever the unit is, but that walk from halfway line...
From the halfway line to there.
Right, there's nobody with you. There's also, his keeper, man, that is like, I don't know, 8 foot tall.
So as soon as they score the penalty, normally you would think you'd start walking straight away, just so you can shorten the length of time between waiting and having it play in your mind.
Right.
So as soon as they've taken the penalty, you will want to start walking straight away. So you can get there quick. You don't get the keeper settled and you can quickly take it.
No, absolutely. I mean, look, it's a very lonely walk. You've obviously got, I don't know whose crowd was behind the goal at that point, right? But you've obviously got the noise.
That was the English fans. All the English fans were there.
Okay, you're English fans. So either way, you got someone either trying to put you off, or there's loads of expectation. People on hands on heads and all that kind of stuff. You got noise, which must be deafening, which must be like not on our level.
There was no noise. It was silent. Every time that we took a penalty, it was silent. Every time they took it, it was mad booing, which makes sense.
Trying to put them off. Yeah. But again, so it's at home. It's Wembley. This is our time. We're supposed to win. Like everything felt preordained. This is England's time.
It felt like it was the best chance that we'll get of winning it. Yeah.
Yeah. But then the Saka man, like, let's just try and comprehend this. How old is he? 19 or 18?
19 years old.
19. Read an article about him the other day, something about his GCSEs and A-levels, like all A stars, because his mum was like, you need to be a good dude in terms of academics, and then you can play football as well. But 19, Indy, like, that's first year uni.
Bro, when I was 19, I was not that responsible. No way.
Do you know what I mean? Responsibility. I was an elite athlete. We weren't elite dancers at that point. Like, the guy's in shape, representing England. His first major tournament?
First major tournament.
Professional
penalty.
And the final penalty.
His first ever penalty. Ever professionally.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's... Wow, man. And I saw this video the other day. They had like, I presume it's the aerial camera, right?
Yeah.
And it shows when the penalty was saved, and you had the pitch invasion of the Italians, right?
Yeah.
And you had them all swarming in, right? And then you just had Saka on his own, kind of just walking like this. And you had, I can't remember which England player came out first before.
Calvin Phillips.
Yeah, he came and then Southgate came. There's obviously that infamous picture of him hugging him, and just, you can see just the emotion is raw and he's crying. But how lonely that, I can only imagine, is the feeling of bottomless pit. Like, oh my God, like the shock and the horror of just like,
Yeah, it's horrible, man. I think the bit that riled me up the most was the racism afterwards. So I think we need to paint a picture, right, of like a storyline of events, sequence of events that happened. Yeah. So for listeners out there that haven't really paid much attention to it, I think you probably have, but there's like context and subcontext needed. So, all right, missed the penalty, everything happens. First thing that happens on social media, I jumped on my phone. I went onto some of the players' Instagram profiles and stuff in their latest posts, and you could see a mix of support, but also a mix of racist messages at the same time coming through.
To give context here, you're talking like seconds, minutes from missing?
I'm talking like 5 or 10 minutes after missing.
5, 10
minutes.
Like,
let me just see this as like an experiment. Like, I jumped on and I could see people were putting in support messages, but I saw like a few racist messages. I was like, all right, no shock. And it just gradually got worse and worse, and I was thinking, yeah, I could see this getting really bad overnight. And I think the situation here is more complicated than we think. So there was a feeling up until the tournament happened that everybody felt like the whole nation was really close and tight-knit and united. But second, the black players have done bad, or the minority players have done bad, yeah, it's like, you're minority, we're English, you're not English, right?
You messed it
Fuck
up.
off, you're not English, you fucked up. It's like it's a very transactional relationship. It's like, you're good to us when you're good to us. When you're bad to us, you're very bad to us. If you make a mistake, you're not in our good books ever again. So if you notice, when you watch Raheem Sterling play, the guy who basically carried England to the flipping knockout stages, I can see that he treats the England role as a job. Like, this is a job, I'm just doing this. Not because he's fully like invested in it anymore. He's dealt with all the abuse in the past from like the newspapers and media. He knows what to expect. He knows how reactionary they are. So right now the media love him, but in the past they were hating on him. So he's got a level head where he's like, this is just a job. This is just England. It is what it is. I don't blame him for taking that kind of stance, because you can't just sit there and just be all happy all the time, knowing that 1 minute they're shaking your hand, the next minute when your back's turned they're stabbing you. So it doesn't help the situation. So that kind of bias is there, and that feeling, which is completely fair.